Hi and welcome to this Sonic Academy Tech Tip. Today I'm going to be showing you a little handful of tricks for getting width to your percussion tracks, stereo width. So first off, we're just starting with the most basic of drum tracks here, just a kick and an offbeat hi-hat. So the first thing I'm going to show you to add some width is if you're adding like a 16th note shaker or closed hat pattern, a way of adding a bit of width to that. So if we get a new MIDI track and drag this shaker in, which is it's a nice little shaker pattern there. So let's draw some 16th notes in on this. Instead of one beat, loop that, and add a little bit of velocity to this. So we can get a nice pattern going. A little bit of velocity programming. Just give it a bit of movement. That's the kind of thing you'd use as a standard shaker. But then just a good little function on simpler in Ableton here is the random pan, which you don't need to set up any routing, anything like that. It's just there, control ready to go. So if we solo that, let's turn the random pan amount here up a little bit. Let's try maybe 20%. You can hear that shaker's now kind of dancing around the stereo field a little bit, so maybe a little bit more than that. And there you go, instant bit of width. That's one good way of doing it. And because that's not repeating as well, it's kind of always different, which gives it a bit of even more width than sort of programming panned parts, really. The second part of this trick is we're using a sliced loop. So if we take this drum loop that we've got here, solo that, have a listen to it. What I'm going to show you here is how to chop that loop and then pan a couple of the hits in the stereo field to give it a bit more width. So if we right click and do slice to new MIDI track, any preset should be fine, and we can get rid of the original track then, and got the same thing but in MIDI. So we can now go in, and I usually like to take off the hits that are on the kick just so that we don't clash with our kick. And usually for this panning trick, a nice mid-rangey hit tends to work the best. So you can hear slices 4 and 6 here are that kind of mid-rangey congo bongo kind of sound. So if we then leave the loop playing and open up the separate slice mixer, you can see slices 4 and 6 there equate to these two on here. And it's as simple as just dragging the pan control on here, and let's get them quite wide. So let's say 40 left and 40 right on those two. There we go. And you can hear that's makes that loop have a little bit of stereo width to it because the nice mid-rangey parts are bouncing from left to right. So that's two techniques, and finally for the third one, I'm going to show you a little trick of using the same sound but tuned differently, panned left and right. So if we insert a new MIDI track again, go onto that and drop this 909 ride in, just a nice standard 909 ride symbol, and go in, draw a sort of fairly typical ride pattern just on the offbeat in there, and just duplicate that across. So we should turn the release up, and it's very much a sort of bog standard ride pattern. So if we go into the MIDI track, right click on the header and group, then this puts it into an instrument rack, which is important for the next step. And then if we right click on the chain there and click duplicate, we've then got two copies of the same sound. Pan these hard left and right. It doesn't really matter which way around. And you can hear at the moment it hasn't made any difference at all because the two sounds are identical. But if we then take one of them and detune it slightly, we should start to get a bit of stereo width on the go. So if we go sort of up 50 with that one and down 50 with that one, we've got kind of quite a wide detune sort of sound, which can sound a little bit too detuned for certain situations. But I think for sort of techno kind of stuff, when they're back in the mix and high passed up, you don't really notice the sort of detuned element too much, but you do notice the width, which is obviously beneficial. So if we just stick a auto filter on there just to get it nice and top endy, that kind of works. But just to take that idea a little stage further, if we take the detune off these and do it a slightly different way, you can set an LFO to the pitch, and if you set different LFO frequencies and amounts to the two different rides, you'll get them kind of drifting in and out of one another, which could be quite a cool effect. So if we just solo one of them for a start, are on this side. And so if I go to my LFO here and turn it on firstly, and set some LFO amount on the pitch here to, let's put a little bit on, a few percent, and turn the LFO rate down, nice and really nice and low, and re-trigger off. That's quite important. So just turn it up quite a bit so you can hear. Obviously we don't want it to be that extreme. So there you go, kind of round about sort of between 5 and 10% is enough that you can hear it, but not so much that it sounds too comical. And then if we do nearly the same thing on this side, turn the LFO on, LFO amount up to similar sort of amounts, 7 or so %. Set the frequency something different, re-trigger off. So our frequency on this one was 0.15, so let's go a bit lower on this one, so 0.08, let's say. And then if you hear those, if you hear those two things together, you'll hear them sort of drifting in and out of tune, but at different rates. Which again gives you a nice little bit of a stereo effect. So put those back, turn that off, and there's 3 tricks for how to get your drum track sounding wider in the stereo field. Hope you enjoyed the tip, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks everybody for watching, commenting, and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.